Hello, everyone, and welcome to this workshop. My name is Brevin Honda. I'm from the Buddhist Temple of San Diego Dharma School, and today we are going to talk about how to implement social media into your Dharma schools at your temple. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides, and we will go ahead and get started. A little bit about me. I am in my final semester at San Diego State. I am studying journalism, and so a lot with journalism, especially with the rise of the internet, has been social media. And so you see here, in my classes, I've been talking about Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, a lot of social media apps, or also known as social networking sites. And over the past year, since we've been away from the temple, we every single temple in BCA has had to find ways to still teach the Dharma without being in person. And so and personally, I've seen this from a lot of temples. They've used YouTube as an example to post their weekly services. I know a couple of temples have used Facebook. I've seen Twitter. People would post Instagram photos as well. And so today we're going to talk about how to use social media apps in Dharma school. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's think about things to think about. And one of the first things are media release forms. And it's giving parental consent because you are dealing with minors, people under the age of 18. And these parental consent forms can easily be handed out at the beginning of your Dharma school year, whenever it begins for you. When you ask the parents to fill out their registration form for their Dharma school student, and it can include giving consent to be recorded, to be posted on, to be recorded, or to be posted on, for them to be posted on social media. Another thing you have to think about is privacy, understanding the privacy of the child as well. Another thing you want to think about is who is your audience. Now, most students around middle school to high school age, that's when they start receiving their phones and their cell phones. And that's when, they start getting into these social media apps, whether it's Twitter or Instagram. There's a lot of social media social networking sites out there. You think about TikTok and Reddit just as an example. But when we think about audience, it's most likely in terms of students. We're looking at middle school and high school students. So anywhere from around that sixth grade year to their senior year in high school. And, also when we think about audience, we think about their parents as well, because they also want to, see what their children are doing. And it depends on how you inform what content is being posted, and also who you inform. And when we think about how you inform what content is being posted, you think about, any activities that you do in class, whether it's a craft or even an event that your particular class is doing, or even something that your entire Dharma school is doing. In terms of who you're informing, you think about, people that want to see what is happening in class or what's happening in your temple's Dharma school. So that could be your temple's Sangha members. That could be parents of the students in that class, or even in another class. And also even teachers from another temple. So they could also possibly gain new ideas for their class or for their teachers from their temples as well. And another thing to think about is, when it comes to social media, is once you post it, it's pretty much out there forever. Yeah, you can delete it, but until someone refreshes the page after you delete it, then they could still see it. One last thing to think about is don't try to copy how someone else posts. Make it your own. This is your own temple, and this is kind of like the brand that you're giving out to the people that are gonna look at the content that you post. So this is an approach to planning that I learned in one of my journalism and my social media classes this spring semester at San Diego State, and it's an acronym of POST. It's first thing is people, who you want to target, what you're sharing. So that would most likely be, what Dharma school activities you're doing. In San Diego, a good example would be when before the pandemic, we would have our bowling activities. That is an example of, a fun activity for people to see that. The second part is objectives, the O, what goals you want to accomplish when posting something, whether that's, um, how many likes you get on it, how many shares, what goals you want, and it's so much beyond just the likes and the retweets and the shares. It's, people that want to see what's going on and then can possibly learn from it and take it and possibly tell someone else about it as well. Another thing is strategy, having a plan on how you can build also relationships, whether it's people from your own temple or also people from other BCA temples, because then you could be able to connect with that teacher or that Dharma school on how, craft came up, how a certain craft was made, or even how your temple or how your Dharma school did a certain event that looked pretty successful based on a certain post. It can also be how you can promote what you share and promote, events that your Dharma school or a particular Dharma school class is doing. And the last part, the T, is technology. Deciding on what social technologies will be used for your main target audience to get, your information, and whether that's how you're gonna, connect with people besides posting and besides putting content out on these social networking sites, whether that's, through group messaging to certain people. And we're going to talk a little bit about group messaging a little bit later, whether that is, whether you're going to call people about certain events, how you're going to connect with people in those type of forms. It doesn't have to be social media, whether it's email or text message as well. All right, next slide. We are going to talk about what each social media platform has in common. I'm going to move it down there for now. So what each social media has in common, so you can post photos and videos. You can message people. So parents, and this is the group message I was going to talk about from the last slide. So you can group message certain people if need be. So that's whether it's teachers, all the Dharma school teachers, the entire Dharma school staff, whether that's parents of a particular class, whether that's the students of a class, whether that's the entire Dharma school parents as well. What each social media platform has in common, another thing is you can get friends or followers, and that's how you can grow yourself, grow your brand, and possibly outreach to incoming people, and so people can see what happens in your Dharma schools. Another thing is you can inform people of events in different ways, whether that's making stories or fleets. I can get that into a little bit in a sec, but you can also inform people through, posting videos of what's going to happen, posting, a video of what's going to happen, just putting a post out there of what will happen for a particular event. And when it comes to stories or fleets, those are quick little possibly 30-second videos that you put up on a site that shows, what's going to happen, who, what, when, where, why, just, your quick little facts about the event. Stories are for Facebook and Instagram, and then fleets are for Twitter. You can, you have the opportunity when you set up the page or public profile, you can have the opportunity to make it public or private. And when you make it private, that means that you have to accept followers into your that can view your profile, And when you have it public, anyone can search your profile and they can see what happens and they can see what goes on. Also, with the app, with social media, you can go live to see what goes on in class at that moment, whether that's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, or even if it's YouTube as well. You can go live, and by going live, you can possibly see, especially for students that miss that class. And let's say you do a craft, you can go live on YouTube, and they can see what happens at that moment. And you could possibly use a hashtag for something you do. So for example, if we wanted to create a hashtag for, let's say, this conference, we could put a hashtag 2021 FDSTL conference. Now, if you put spaces anywhere between that, so let's say if you put a space in between the 1 and the capital F, the hashtag would only be hashtag 2021. And so that's why you see all these hashtags that are super long, because of those spaces that affect the entire hashtag. So I'm going to show you an example of a social media post. So this is my Twitter account that I posted about a month ago. And you see that I tag some people, I have hashtags, I have a link in there, and I also have emojis in there. So you can see the emojis of the sirens here and here, and then you also see the emoji of the link. Now you see the hashtag right here. This is a podcast that I did about a month ago, talking to my newspaper colleagues about women in sports. I write sports for my newspaper, my school's newspaper called the Daily Aztec. And so you can see I tag our sports section right here, and I tag some of the people that I talked to. And then you see I put the link down here as well at the bottom. So you see the tags that I have, the hashtags, the links, as well as the emojis that I have here in this post. And when you have these types, when you have this tags and hashtags and links, you see it stand out a lot more when you're looking at other posts within all your tweets or all your Facebook posts that you're seeing as you scroll through them. So now we're going to talk about some of the how to use some of these apps in particular now. So we're going to first look at Facebook. So you can first off gain followers and friends, which you mentioned earlier, and that could just be Dharma school parents, those that want to be in the know of what's going on. You can group message for parents, like I mentioned earlier, whether that's for Dharma school or that's for an entire class. You can make small videos. So these are the stories I was talking about earlier. The thing with stories is that they're only up for a certain amount of time, and then they disappear after a certain amount of time, just because of that, not really attention span, but knowing that it's not as relative when you post it compared to 5 days after you post it, for example. You could also post a picture and you add a caption. So like if a temple had a bazaar or a Matsuri coming up, they could post a picture of something that relates to their event coming up. Or even if it's Obon, they could post a picture of Obon, and then they could put a caption with it saying, like when a certain Obon festival is, or, where it's going to be, and certain things that'll stand out to want to attract people to come to those events. And you can, like I said, let people know of events. You can post about what goes on in class, as I mentioned earlier, crafts, certain events the Dharma school does, or certain class. And two, you can go live for anything. Like I said earlier, for, like I said, crafts or a certain project that a class is doing. One thing to realize about social networking sites is you don't have an unlimited amount of space to post something. So you want to be as concise as possible because of people's attention spans. Attention spans have been decreasing as time goes on, because people want to just read the tweet, see it, and then move on to the next one. So you got to be able to grab people's attention pretty much ASAP. So with Facebook, you have a lot of space to share what's going on, but as we see, especially for Twitter, it's a little bit different. So when we go to Twitter, you see it's more of a news-based. And what I mean by news-based is you see a lot of journalists on that website. You see a lot of news reporters on the website because you only have down here, you only have 280 characters to post something, post an event, give updates about events possibly. You can message on Twitter, but with Facebook, it's one of the Facebook is one of the more, I would say it's the most popular social networking site. So I would say Facebook is better to message than Twitter, but you can still message people about events. You can still group message. That is still possible. You could post photos about what happens in class. You could record the fleets, as I mentioned earlier, the short videos promoting what you're doing, what goes on, and that could be videos of you or videos of something that is going on as well. You can also inform people about any changes as well. And, like Facebook, you can go live for anything. And like I mentioned earlier, you only have 280 characters to post something. All right, so now we're going to take a look at Instagram. And Instagram is more photo based. And so because of that, when you look at, if you look, for example, at an Instagram page, you're going to see a lot of, photos. You're not going to see any just posts by itself because that's how the app is designed. You could even see in the logo here, it's a camera. And that's because that's what the app is all about. And so you can see, you can post photos, but you can also include a caption of things, like Facebook that happened in a class or for an entire Dharma school. And so the thing that with Facebook and Instagram is Instagram is owned by Facebook. So you're going to see a lot of the similar things from Instagram that I'm mentioning now compared to Facebook. You can post stories on it. There's this feature on Instagram called IGTV. So that way you can record videos as well there. You can, that's part of going live to record an event that goes on. And with Instagram, you have a 30 hashtag limit and about 2,200 characters. And so you see, the amount of character limit with Instagram and Facebook compared to Twitter, it's so much. So that concludes the slides that I have. If you have any questions, with how much people have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, there's a lot of people that have these different sites and use these different sites. And so there's 99% sure there's probably at least someone at your temple that can, give you more information. If you want to sign up for these apps, you can easily Google search, the particular app and just search sign up, and you can make an account and just follow the prompts that way. In general, this is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as a way for people to connect people, especially when connect with each other, especially when they can't be with each other in person, especially in a time like right now. It's so unusual to be in a Zoom conference like what we're doing and what we have been doing over the past year. So with that will conclude my workshop. Thank you for attending. And lastly, if just to remind you, my name is Brevin Honda, and I'm from the Buddhist Temple of San Diego Dharma School. Thank you.